Yeah, hello, good morning. Someone was asking me to talk about the spiritual benefit of being vegan. And what I'd like to start is by quoting one of my teachers and masters, who is my grandfather. My grandfather used to always tell me, he'd be like, son, when the body is clean, the mind begins to think. You think about that for a second. And I always like to use a scenario of if you had a horse that made you maybe $5,000 a month, and every time this horse race, it'll win maybe $5,000. What kind of food will you give it? And most people will tell me I'll give it the best food, organic, good food to improve on the performance of the horse. And I always tell them, you are that horse. Most of the time, people don't understand a lot of things because we just live in a microwave society where everything is moving so fast. We don't really slow down to think about anything. I saw a guy, most of the time, go through this washer area, and the guy washes his car so well, cleans the engine. Ask him, like, how often do you change your oil? He says every 3 months. I said, oh, wow. People are able and willing to do things like that, take off time to take care of their material things. They know if I don't take care of this car properly, it's gonna break down. But how often do we slow down to take care of our bodies? How often do we slow down to clean our bodies? How often do we take to just nurture ourselves with the right things? My teacher used to always tell me, he said, everything that's dead has to be buried. Think about that. Everything that is dead has to be buried. So how do you use your body as a graveyard and say, I'm eating food? When your child or your grandmother dies, why don't you eat them? Because they're dead. So we've been lied to. Our parents have passed this down to us because grandfather was taught like that. Great-great-grandpa was taught like that. So because our grandparents or tradition is doing something, it doesn't mean it's right. Sometimes we might be the generation that might change things. And just because you're an older person, it doesn't mean you know anything. Sometimes a child that is born has so much to teach you, more than you can ever imagine. My teacher always told me, he said, son, if I ever die, he said, if you never ask any man a question or a woman a question, I want you to go outside, spend a lot of time outside, and just watch nature at its best. That was my grandfather. So when he died, from that day on, I was outside all the time, watching nature the way it does things. You remember my previous video? I said the word nature comes from the word nurture. To nurture is to nature. So I began to learn from nature. No animal wears glasses. No animal goes to the hospital. No animal cooks its food. And even if you see the way animals they eat something called one particular fruit or vegetables at a time. All this whole thing, you need this, you need this, you need that, is a big lie. Look at nature. I don't care what human beings think. If nature is not doing it, then it's not really something I want to be doing. Because man has derailed away, has pushed himself, has pulled himself away from nature, so he's not being nurtured. Instead, nature is trying to extinct him out of here. Why? Because we're not living in harmony with nature. So the spiritual benefit, you feel a sense of awareness. Once you start eating right, you automatically become spiritual. Spirituality is in everyone's essence. You do not have to tell a person, thou shalt not kill. They know it already because